everybody, it is John Loan King, and today I want to talk about bridge loans, specifically the difference between buy before you sell programs and true bridge loans. Before I dive into the difference, let's talk about what is a bridge loan. A bridge loan is for someone who currently owns a home. They want to sell it and they want to buy another house. But when you own a home and you want to buy another one, most people need the money from the current house to put as a down payment on the new house, which leaves you three options. Sell your home first. Well, that's great. Now you're an attractive buyer on the next house that you're buying. The problem is you're homeless for a period of time. You got to sell your house, rent, find somewhere else to live, move twice. It's very, very difficult and not worth doing. The second option, for most people, it's not worth doing. The second option is buy and sell at the same time. That's what makes you what's called a contingent buyer. You are pre-approved contingent upon selling your current home. Here's the problem. The problem is it makes you a less attractive buyer in the eyes of the seller and a less attractive seller in the eyes of the buyer, because both of them have to worry about two things. First of all, you got to find one of them before you find the other. So you got to find a buyer willing to buy your house, but willing to wait until you find a seller willing to sell a house to you, or you need to find a seller willing to sell you a house, but wait until you find a buyer willing to buy your house. Now, there's strategy on which one you do first, and that depends on the market. But the truth is, you are not going to get the best deal on either transaction because you are creating more risk, even for the second party. The second party already knows, hey, you found the other one, now I'm the last person, but now two transactions have to successfully close in order for them to get their goal, which means for a lot of people, they just rather move on and buy from or sell to someone who's not contingent. So being contingent puts you at a disadvantage. So the ideal option is the third option, which is you buy first, sell later. Buy now, pay later. No, buy now, sell later. Okay. The buy before you sell option, which essentially creates a problem, two problems. Number one, you've got two mortgage payments for a period of time because you haven't sold your current home yet. You buy the first home, the new home, and you still have the old one. So you got to make a payment on both houses. That's problem number one. Problem number two is the down payment money. Because for most people, the money they have to put as a down payment on their next house is tied up in the current house. And so that created what's called bridge loans. A bridge loan bridges the gap for you. Now, back in the day, a bridge loan was simply a loan that was loaned on your old house that gave you money to put towards the down payment on the new house. But that didn't solve the problem for people of how do you afford to make the payment on two houses. Now, some smart lenders started, or realtors or whoever started marketing, hey, take the money from the bridge loan and use that to help make the payment on the house you're moving out of, which is very true. And that way you can borrow extra money in order to make the monthly payment of the house you're moving out of. So now you only have to make the payment on the house you're moving into. But most people can't qualify for both. That's the final problem, is your income normally, historically, has had to be enough to pay for both loans, even if you're borrowing money to pay for the house that you're moving out of from the bridge loan. You're borrowing the money from the bridge loan to make the payment on the house you're moving out of and the money from the bridge loan to put towards the down payment. You still have to qualify because you're responsible for both debts. As a matter of fact, you're responsible for all three debts: the bridge loan, the house payment on the house you're moving out of, and the payment on the house you're moving into. Most people don't have enough income to carry three mortgage payments. So how in the heck do you qualify for that? And so here came a brand new industry called buy before you sell programs. So I'm going to share my screen with you and I'm going to show you. I just did a Google search on this, and let's pull this up right now. And I simply Googled right here, buy before you sell programs. Okay. And it came up with some companies, and it brought up Knock. Knock is one of the biggest ones. I've used Knock in the past. As a matter of fact, I've had clients that have completed transactions with Knock, but that was before I knew about the new bridge product that I have through Cross Country Mortgage, our proprietary in-house portfolio bridge product. And it's absolutely amazing. And that's ultimately what I want to talk to you about. But let's first talk about what the hidden cost is of these buy before you sell programs. Because if you're Googling or you're searching on YouTube, you might have come across my video. You probably came across other people's videos. And a lot of them talk about these great programs where they're going to basically give you a percentage of the value of your home. And yeah, there's a fee, but hey, don't worry about that fee because it's still a better deal. and they're going to guarantee that your house sells, and if it doesn't sell, then they take ownership, and that all sounds good. But think about what they just said. Let me dive into this. So we've got Knock, we've got Homelight, we've got UpEquity, but let's talk about what the AI overview from Google says. It says buy before you sell programs are specialized lending services that allow you to purchase a new home before your current one sells by using the equity in your existing property to secure down payment, remove contingencies, and make a competitive cash-like offer without the stress of moving twice or juggling two mortgages. All of that is true. All of that is true. How the program works. You qualify for the program, you buy your new house, and then you sell your old house, okay? But let's talk about some of the specifics. So you're making a cash offer. The company, so Homeward is an example, they make you are allowed to make a competitive cash offer on your new home, move in, and then they rent it back to you. So they buy the new house for you and rent it back to you, but there's a huge fee that you pay to buy it from them in the end, okay? And then if your old house doesn't sell, they'll buy it from you, but they don't tell you for how much. They undercut the value of your home significantly because they're not going to be stuck holding a home that can't sell. So they're going to buy it for such a low price that if you have to sell to them, you're selling at a major loss, major loss, okay? The other ones, here, literally, it actually brought up ours. That's great, because our bridge loan is probably one of the best bridge loans. Most of the bridge loan programs, basically, and I'm going to use Knock as the example. So we're going to go here to Knock's website. And under Knock's website, it says, how does it work? We offer a bridge loan determined on the equity in your home. So basically what they're doing, I'm using a super rough number, but they'll loan you 70% of the total value of your home, but they have to first subtract out what you owe on your first mortgage. They have to subtract out what your fee is going to be to them, and they have to subtract out the money they're going to use to pay your mortgage payment on the house you're moving out of. Because they'll say, hey, you don't have to make a mortgage payment on the house you're moving out of either, but they subtract it. So they're going to say, we don't charge any interest, but they charge you a big 2.25% fee, not on the amount they loaned you. They loan you 2.25% on what the house is worth. 2.25% of what the house is worth. My bridge loan charges you 1% of the bridge loan amount and then interest at 8.5% per year. They're charging you 2.25% as a one-time fee on the entire value of the house that you are going to be selling. Their fees come out of the money they lend you, so you're not writing them a check. And then if you haven't sold your home after 6 months, they will buy it from you at an agreed upon price, a super low agreed upon price. You don't get to agree to the price. They tell you the price. And if you're willing to move forward, if you want to move forward, you have to accept that low ball price. Now, some people market this as saying, hey, you can get $100,000 out of your home, and worst case, you end up with that $100,000 and they take over if you can't sell your house, if the market tanks. Is that what you want? Like you're walking away from all the rest of the equity just because you happen to hit a dip in the market? What if you decided you wanted to keep it as a rental property for a period of time? There's ways that you could do that if you didn't have these programs, but let's go into some of the specifics of the math, okay? So here's the math, the hidden cost of buy before you sell programs, and I'm gonna go through kind of the math with you. So first of all, buy before you sell programs charge you the fee on the full home value. They give you around 70% of the home value. Okay, I'll show you the math in a second. No interest, that's great. We're not charging you any interest, but there's a huge big upfront fee that they're charging you that's way more than what the interest was. You get 4 to 6 months to sell the home. And then if it's not sold in that timeline, they take ownership. Okay, now some might give longer, maybe 9 months, maybe up to 12 months. But the truth is they will sell, they'll take the home and basically take ownership of it. And all of the equity that could have been there is lost. Now, some people might say, oh, well, the equity was never there because you couldn't sell it at that price. Maybe, or maybe you just hit bad timing in the market. And if you just waited 6 more months, you'd be able to sell it at a better price. That's the problem. You're taking that choice away. My bridge loan charges you only on the amount that you borrow. I can give you up to 85% of the home value of the house you're moving out of. You pay 8.5% interest, but you don't make any payments. The interest is charged as part of the payoff at the end. You make no payments on there. You have 4 months to sell the home, and you keep the equity. You don't keep the home, you're selling the home. So I typed that wrong, but you home that you're moving out of. Now, with the knock or the buy before you sell programs, they will loan you 70% of that. And so I'm going to actually pull up a Word document here, and I'm just going to type it out for you really, really simple. And then we'll do the math over here. So let's go here. So if your house value is 500,000 for the home you're selling, okay, and the buy before you sell program say, hey, we can loan you up to around 70% of what that home is worth. Let's zoom this in and make it bigger so that you can see it a little bit better. All right, so we can loan you up to 70% of what the home is worth. That's great. So 70% of 500K equals $350,000. Great, so they can loan you $350,000 as your bridge loan. Except that you have to remember, you have to subtract what your current balance is on your home. Okay, cool. Well, if you only owe $100,000 on the house, then awesome, you can get $250,000 of a bridge loan. But that's not really common. If you have a house worth $500,000 right now, maybe you bought it 5 years ago for $300,000, and now you owe, $250,000, you owe $300,000, whatever the numbers are. You don't necessarily have a huge amount of equity. But let's pretend that you owe $300,000 on the house. Okay, because that's pretty common. Somebody has a house worth $500,000, you owe $300,000. So you subtract the current balance, which means available equity, available bridge loan is $50,000. That's it. That's it, $50,000. Now the fee that they're charging you is, let's use 2.25% of the value. Okay, so 2.25% of $500,000 is $12,500. Now, if your home value is $300,000, then your available bridge loan is $50K, and you have to subtract $12,500 in fees, which means you're only getting $37,500. Okay, and your cost of $12,500 was no matter how much you're getting in your pocket. You're being charged that money. So they say, hey, there's no interest, but that interest is because you're paying a one-time fee. And that one-time fee doesn't matter how long you borrow the money. Think about this for a moment. If it took 6 months to sell the home, great, then it costs you $12,500 for 6 months. I'm gonna do the APR math, okay? So if we take, let's move my calculator over here. So if we take 6 months, so we take 12,500 times 2, that means it costs you $25,000 in a year in cost for a loan that's $50,000, which means you're paying 50% interest, okay? Now, mind you, that's annual percentage. You only paid $12,500, but annualized, it's like these short-term loans, the loans that you get like a payday loan, and you're like, oh, it only cost me $20 to get $100. Yeah, but it costs you $20 for a week's worth of loan, which is like a 300% interest rate. So math works funny in that way that when you annualize it, these numbers get bigger. So I want to show you the real math here, which is your difference in cost. So if we had, actually, I guess I didn't break it down as well as I should have on here. So I'll go back over here and break it down. So if you're doing a bridge loan with me, my cost is 1% of the bridge amount. So we're going to use this same example. And you say, if we do the CCM bridge loan, with this example, you've got a $50,000 bridge loan. That's if we're borrowing up to 70% of the home value, okay? So that means that you're paying $5,000, actually $500, because $500 is a 1% fee, okay? So 1% of the loan amount plus 8.5% interest. Okay, so if you're borrowing $50,000, let's get the calculator back up here. So I take the same $50,000 times 8.5% is $4,250 a year. But divided by 12, it's $355 a month. Okay, so you're paying $500 is actually probably another $700 of hard costs. So it's 1% plus about $700 of hard costs. Okay. So let's call it 700 of hard cost. So 1% plus the 8.5% interest, which in this case, again, what did we say it was? About $355 a month. So if you put an extra 5 in there. So if you if you sold the house in 1 month, your total cost of this is going to be about $1,500 in cost if you sell in 1 month. If it takes you 4 months to sell, then you're looking at the $350 times 350 times 4 months is 1,400 plus the 500 plus the 700. So you're talking about $2,600 in cost. Okay, significantly lower cost. But here's the better part. My bridge loan can give you more money. I can give you up to 80% of the value of the home and still ignore the payment on the house that you're moving out of. Now, you can use the money from my bridge loan to offset the cost of what your new payment is. In other words, you can't get cash back in your hand on my bridge loan. So the one benefit of the buy before you sell program is they will literally take the money from your bridge loan, take part of it and set it aside and dole out that money to pay your first mortgage for the next 6 months. I can't do that. But what I can do is basically make it so that you have zero money out of pocket. We can cover your down payment and your closing costs, depending upon the purchase price you're looking to buy, and free up your cash that you were going to put towards down payment and closing costs to cover the payment. So that's the only piece with my bridge loan is you do have to make the payment on your first mortgage on the house that you are moving out of. I can't pay it for you, but I can basically structure it so that we can get the maximum amount of money towards your down payment and closing costs, minimizing any money out of your pocket, which frees up more cash that you may have today to use to help make that monthly payment. Okay. Aside from that, everything else about my bridge loan is significantly better because I can loan you more money. So now under this same situation, if you've got a $500,000 home, I can loan you up to $400,000. So I can go 80%. Up to 80%. So that means that I can give you a total of $400,000. Okay, so if I'm loaning you $400,000 on the house that you are moving out of, and you currently owe $300,000 on there, minus your $300,000 balance, means that I'm giving you the opportunity to borrow $100,000 in your bridge loan. Double what the amount was for these buy before you sell programs, and my cost on that is going to be $1,000 for the 1%, plus the $700 one-time fee, plus about $700 monthly for interest. Okay, so because you're borrowing double the amount of money, so instead of it being the $355, it's going to be about $700. Let's call it $750 a month. That's still significantly less money. That's where I come up with these numbers where I'm showing you here. My bridge loan is significantly cheaper, significantly, hands down cheaper than the buy before you sell program. And you don't have to accept a lowball offer. That's critically important for you to understand. And I can technically even loan you up to 85% of the value of your current home. I just then have to qualify you to make both payments. If you're borrowing only up to 80%, I can qualify you and ignore the payment because I'm using our portfolio program. But if I'm loaning you extra cash out of your current home, you need to have more income in order to be able to afford both the payment on the house you live in and the house that you're moving into. So that's some stuff I'll help walk you through those different scenarios. But essentially, no matter how you look at it, my option is significantly better than the buy before you sell programs. And there's a lot of hidden costs. I want to make it really clear. There's no refund for selling early with the buy before you sell programs. It's a flat fee. So if you sell in 2 months instead of 6 months, you save nothing. My program, you get 4 months to sell the home, and then we give you extensions if you need more time after that. Okay. And the no payment thing, like they're going to tell you, hey, you don't have to make monthly payments on the house you're moving out of. That's true. But it's not free money because they're taking that out of your bridge money. Okay, so it's not free and they can take your home. Like if you don't sell within the 4 or 6 or 9 months, then they take ownership of the home and you lose whatever equity you could have retained had you had more time to sell it, more time to market it to the right buyer. There's a huge cost to that timeline that most people don't pay attention to. And so if you're in a situation where you own a home and you are saying, hey, I don't know how to get from my current house to my next house, talk to me. I can do these buy before you sell programs, but there's only one situation in which it's better, and that is if you have zero cash extra. You don't have 2 pennies to rub together to help supplement the monthly payment in the meantime. That's the only time that we would use one of these buy before you sell programs because the cost is so high. All of the other things I do, and I do better, and nobody else offers the program that we offer. And so if you're thinking about selling your home and buying another one, this is a great opportunity. You need to meet with me. We need to talk about your options. I have many different ways to go about it, but this bridge loan that I offer is significantly better than the cost that you get from these buy before you sell programs. Please reach out. My information should be floating above my head or down below. I'm looking forward to taking great care of you and I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day. Bye-bye.